One, two, three. We are live. Muy buenas noches, Honsungu. Good evening, everyone. How y'all doing? So we are back. Thank you for having us tonight. And we have been on a little break for a minute, but as we promised, we was going to return. So here we are today with a great presentation. We do have two Garifuna brothers today that they're going to display a great project that they have in their hands. So if you out there that don't speak Garifuna, don't speak Spanish, so this event today is going to be in English. However, if you don't speak English and you want to understand quite, what we're talking about, you may want to send us a message lively, and then I could translate either Spanish or Garifuna. But tonight I will present Jan Moreira Arzu, including Abrahan Laboriel. Those are two brothers right now. They're going to be speaking to us about Quest IV Jurumein. So I will start off with Jan. Abraham, I think he's going to come back and we're going to be, back and forth with the interview today. But as of now, I want to introduce John Arsul. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself? You can hear me good?
Yes, I could hear you well.
All right,
Absolutely.
perfect. I'm good. I'm in California right now. This is where I reside. So shout out to all the family in New York City and and Texas as well, the family out there. But I'm doing good. And yourself?
I am well, thank you. I'm really excited to have you guys tonight out here. Today is the 18th of September, and we have some good news. I'm really excited about this project. I'm really excited about your project and the presentation that you're going to be holding next month. And I'm just really, really, looking forward for this event, and not only looking forward for the event, but looking forward for our community to come in and that day and show up and showcase. What about you?
Same. Ever since I got back, I took my vacation this past summer, went back to New York City to, visit mom and the whole family. But once I got back to California, it was straight back to work. But I was able to accomplish a lot of things as far as like lock in the venue, which it will be at the Bronx Music Hall, or for some who know, Bronx Heritage Music Heritage Center. And then the date as well, which is October 12th, a Sunday. So once I was able to execute that, came back to work and just got down. I'm still getting everything together as far as, the vendors, the musicians the performers that will perform after the screening, and everything in between. So it doesn't stop for me. It doesn't stop, but I'm excited though.
Absolutely. So talk to us, who is John Arsu? A little bit about you, just for our people, our community today to get to know you. Me personally, I do know you, but however, people may out there, may want to know a little bit more about you.
So John Moreira Arzu is a Garifuna American, first generation, born and raised in Queens, New York. I was born in Jamaica Hospital, um, raised in Far Rockaway, Queens. You know what I'm saying? For those who know New York City, that's far from everybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I was raised, and to a loving family, you know what I'm saying? I was at the time the baby. I was one of four siblings, but now I'm one of eight. So, we have a big family, you know what I mean? So but yeah, just your typical Garifuna household in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? For those who know, it was just, the Hana in the corner, you know what I'm saying? What you call it? Hudutu, certain weekends, going to the Bronx, one of the parks, St. Mary's or what Van Cortlandt, whichever one it is, and or just hearing Punta Paranda music in the household. That's what growing up was like. Obviously outside of the household, it was a different experience because it was American culture, you know. But I just, especially growing up, I knowing now, looking back, I noticed that my childhood was pretty unique compared to my classmates and my friends and stuff like that. So, but end up moving to California, finished school, end up staying here, um, got 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 settled here and got grounded, um, you know, got a job, continue my studies and developed a passion for film. I felt it was super important to control your narrative, you know. Especially in this day and age that we live in, as far as like technology, where you have the opportunity to tell your story in such a unique way. I felt it was very important to um, equip myself with the tools, whether it was studying cinematography and things of that nature, or just hitting the ground running and having that do it yourself mentality. Um, but yeah, and that's really how we got to this point. Obviously there's a lot of in between as far as like experiences and things of that nature, because California life is totally different than New York City life. Um, but just to keep it within the confines of the conversation, um, that's really how I got introduced to film. It was very organic. And as a kid in the 90s, I feel like the 90s was like the golden era of entertainment, fashion, music. It was a time before the internet, so it was very interactive. It forced us to um hone in on our creativity, our personalities, get familiar with those in our neighborhood, our friends, and really truly express ourselves, right? Like, because there was no cell phone, so you really had to really express yourself in a way that was unique to yourself, to you. And I was big on that, you know what I mean? So it definitely shows now for me. Just shining, I feel like this project, it shows my talents as far as film, but it also shines a light on those who have talents and who are, in a sense, entrepreneurs and have gifts as well. You follow what I'm saying? So, that's always my thing is giving back in the process. Not just making it about me, but also shining a light on those who are doing great things as well. So that's also what what this project is all also about, aside from the history of the Garifuna people.
Um, cool. So who came up with the idea, that this was going to be a project that y'all was going to execute and eventually showcase?
So it started COVID. It came up for me. So the idea actually started as um me traveling back. At that point I had traveled back with a partner of mine who we had went to high school together, and we invested in a camera, at the time. And so we came back, I came back to New York City. At the time it was my mom's birthday. um, and so, as as a Garifuna family, when there's a gathering, people come to the house. So, um, I took it upon myself to like just keep the camera rolling. There was really no idea. It was just keep the camera rolling um, to record the times in a sense, and I think a little bit of everybody was at the house, just wishing my mom a happy birthday. And so everybody said something, everybody said that, how they felt, and how what my mom meant to them. And so I caught all this on camera. So fast forward, I get back to California and I'm looking at the footage. And the beauty about me being able to get away from New York City is the fact that I'm able to step outside of my, my day to day of what New York City was like. And so I'm able to look at it from a different perspective, right? So I think the thing with me growing up is that we got Ifuna, so we don't know anything else of it. And at times We don't know nothing but Garifuna. That's what we are. You know what I mean? To the core. But there was moments I noticed for me, I would say that I took it for granted because that's it came from both sides, my mom and my dad. So going to California, it allowed me to really see it from a different perspective and then also appreciate it more, and so seeing it through a lens, seeing, that my parents, my elders, they spoke not only English, Spanish, Garifuna, um, the food, the herbs, the music, these things to me it was regular, but to everyone else, like my colleagues here in California, they were like, well, that's not normal. That's not that's not familiar to us. It's not the norm. And so when I was able to see it from that perspective, I was like, okay, this is a story that has to be told. You follow what I'm saying? And so that's how it started. And so every summer I would come back, especially during the time of the pandemic. Tickets were cheap, and so I would come back and just bring the camera, and so I would continue to record. Also ran into family. I also ran into shout out Mr. G Abelardo Guerrero. He was definitely, he played a big role in it as well because he understood the vision, right? And so I would get with him and I would just, as I'm talking to you now, just sharing the thought process. And he was like, you know what, however I can help, let me know. And that's rare, what I'm saying, just in general is rare to run into somebody and they understand your vision, but not only understand your vision but want to actually assist in a genuine way. You follow what I'm saying? So shout out to him because he was in film as well. But at the time during COVID, a lot of the business wasn't going, wasn't he wasn't as busy, let's say it that way. And so he was able to assist me as far as equipment was concerned, right? So I had a camera, but he also had one. So I mean, two was better than one. You follow? So it just grew, like the project just grew legs. It started with just telling my story of how I grew up to involving my cousin who he also, his family also lives in Far Rockaway, Abraham Laboriel. He I'm sure he's gonna tell his story, but he was a musician. You follow what I'm saying? So he was familiar with a lot of the community as far as the musicians and things of that nature. And so once again, as we will always do, we will always catch up, see how he's doing. I will ask him how mi tia Rosemary's doing, how's the family, and he will ask me the same thing. And so this time it was a little bit different because, he I was sharing with him the idea, and he's like, man, let's do it. Let's do it. So we just hit the ground running. And once again, shout out to my oldest brother, Andres Moreira Jr. He threw me the keys to his car and he said, "Go do your thing." You feel what I'm saying? And for those who live in New York, that's expensive. You know what I mean? Going from borough to borough, paying toll here, toll coming back, going to Jersey, going to the Bronx, going to Manhattan. I mean, we were doing 4 interviews a day for a whole month. 4 interviews a day for a whole month.
Wow.
So shout out to my brother, what I mean, because without the vehicle, it wouldn't have been possible. You know what I mean? I can't imagine taking the train doing that. It would have been impossible. So there were the reason I'm bringing these people up is because though they play the background, they were key players in this whole thing. You follow what I'm saying? Like, yes, I had the vision, yes, I had the vision, but it takes a team. It truly takes a team. And in this case, my team is also Garifuna people. You follow what I'm saying? So they truly understand the vision. They truly understand it. So, yeah, that's really how it started.
Absolutely. Wow, amazing. Because I do remember what about almost, I think 4 or 5 years ago, when you reached out and I didn't thought of much of it. I thought you was just, creating and later on you was going to come up with it and all of a sudden here we are today. So I want to introduce Abraham Laboriel, who is the co-producer. So Abraham, can you tell us a little bit about you? You are mute.
You mute.
let's see if we could unmute you. Yeah, you need
You gotta
to
unmute the
unmute.
mic on the app. You gotta unmute it on the app.
All right. So while he's, working with that, we're just going to continue with the conversation until, he's settled for us to, um, interview him. So, what is the vision of this production?
Yeah, so the vision is pretty much to just help obviously preserving the Garifuna culture through new means of like the platform and technology, as you know, as I spoke of earlier. um Especially how the new generation communicates is a lot different than how our parents did, you follow? So but still honing in on the culture and taking that with me, you follow what I'm saying? So it's a way to connect the dots as well. um I did travel, to St. Vincent. My parents, they're from Central America, Honduras to be specific, El Pueblo de Travesía. And so, you know, just connecting the dots, because one thing I noticed, like, oh, is when I say my peers, those Garifuna American first generation who also grew up in New York City, who had the same questions I had, you know, um, where do we come from, and what is our story, because growing up in the 90s, 2000s, all we knew was other people's culture. When we went to school, we studied other people's culture. We studied everything else but Garifuna. You follow what I'm saying? So it's not till until now that we actually, are starting to understand how rich our culture is and what it actually consists of outside of just music and food. You follow what I'm saying? So that's what the truly the vision is this project specifically is only the beginning. I always say that it's only the beginning. But it's definitely it's gonna play the role of connecting the dots and also preserving the culture in the process through obviously the new generation, or as you can call first generation.
Absolutely. And what about the mission?
Mission statement. I would say similar. It's just, just honing in on creating the conversation as well. Let me say that. Creating a conversation to be had um in a public arena. A lot of these conversations were had so more so in the household, and sometimes it wasn't even had there. You follow what I'm saying? Like even when it comes to the language, but placing it on a platform to where it gets mentioned and celebrated, just like Puerto Rican culture, Dominican culture, and American culture, right? Because I feel we deserve that. And we see it happening. We do see it happening, but we can continue. I mean, it's only I feel there's only room for improvement when it comes to individuals like me, creatives, um, those who have created businesses and incorporated the culture in it. For example, shout out like Arnold with Arnold with D Martinez with Garifuna Aerobics. Ivan Moreira, he has the clothing line. And so, wherever you see that sweater, not only do you know it's his brand, but whoever's wearing it, it means something to them. And 9 times out of 10, they're Garifuna. You follow what I'm saying? So it kind of connects people without even having to say a word. And I feel that's a productive way to preserve the culture and keep the conversation going, you know? So
Absolutely. So tell us, the where does the name come from, Quest IV Jurumein? So can you break that down for us, for those that don't understand, what is the acronym for? And I will
so
in Spanish also and Garifuna.
okay. So it's actually Quest for Jurumein, you know what I mean? But IV is super interesting because
Yes, it does.
so we're gonna come back to that. But because
Yes,
when you said that earlier, I wrote it down. I'm like, oh, that's I'm very like is a way to bring up, create a conversation within a conversation. But so
yes.
it's Quest for Yurumen. I use four obviously because I'm on a quest for Yurumin. I was actually when I started, it was on my bucket list to touch ground on Yurumin. For those who don't know, Yurumin is that's the term of the homeland of the Garifuna people, which is Saint Vincent, which is in the Caribbean islands. So that was my quest. It was my quest of in the process of telling the Garifuna story from my perspective, right? Because I don't know everything. So in a sense, it is a quest of me learning and bringing you along with me. You follow? But the interesting part about it is that the story is actually being told in reverse because it starts in Yurumen, right?
Yes.
But being that my beginnings start in the States, my story starts in the States, and so I'm telling it in reverse because my parents' story starts in Central America, and then the Garifuna story starts in St. Vincent. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm actually working backwards, telling the story, but my quest is Yurume. And so yes, quest for Yurume, and it was such a dynamic experience, visiting, St. Vincent. One thing that stood out to me, there was a lot of things that stood out to me, but one thing that stood out to me was when we touched down, because I went with a group of Garifuna men and women. Shout out to Tini, Martine Morales. She was the head of the group, did an amazing job. But one thing that stood out to me is when we landed, they told us welcome home, like welcome back home. That was their true words. And so that kind of set the mood for the whole trip. We went there during National Heroes Day, where they commemorate the life of Chief Joseph Satuye. And so that whole week was just events and information. Just a lot of events and information. And so it was definitely an experience for sure. And I
Wow.
documented it.
Wow. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So we're going to get back to you. However, we do have Abraham.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. How you guys doing today?
We're
Good.
good. We didn't forget about you. We was just waiting for you to be ready and then come up. So tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about you. To go
Um,
along like that, the community will, know who you are, guys.
well, my name is Abraham Laboriel Lambert. My family is from Honduras descent, Garifuna. Both my parents is Garifuna from Honduras, Puerto Cortes, Travesía, to be exact. My grandparents is from Travesía. So my whole background, from the Garifuna community is from Travesía. Born and raised here in Far Rockaway, New York. Where growing up, we had, we always was, around the culture. Growing up here in Far Rockaway, had to adapt. Pretty much, living with everybody else. With different type of communities. I have definitely friends from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, American. And my family was Garifuna. So growing up, like a lot of people was not really used to black folks speaking Spanish and being different. Like the first thing they told us that like, you guys are Puerto Rican. They didn't know what, Honduras was on the map. So, growing up, it was a humbling experience, but one thing about us, we adapt to anything, so, so it was, pretty much a, good, decent time, humbling times, just, growing up, as I got older, I got to get involved more with, with the Garifuna culture. I became a musician, about 2002. I played with a Lagani band from Travesía, and I was with them for like a good 15 years. Playing music, going up and down the road, playing in the Bronx, playing all over the United States. Going on trips, going to Honduras. Playing over there. So I have a little bit of experience when it comes to that. And me being American, because honestly, I don't speak Garifuna. But Garifuna's in me. I understand. I understand some of it. I got the rhythm down. I got the culture down, and it's in my blood. And it's something that I'm really, really proud of. So for a good 15 years, I was in the community. So pretty much I represented the American Garifuna culture living here in New York. There's a lot of people just like me that were born here, but it's involved in the community, and I was one of them. Yeah, had to adapt, of course. Got to learn to speak more Spanish and things like that. You could speak to me in Garifuna someone, and I will kind of pick it up a little bit, but that's not our language is not easy. But I know what I am, and I'm proud of it.
Absolutely. And I'm really proud of you guys, to be born here in the US and you still embrace our culture. And
Hmm.
talking about, adapting, that is a strong word for us because
Hmm.
as migrated first to here, and I believe the Garifuna culture stands that we adapt to any situation. It doesn't really matter what's going on. The light will go off. We know how to survive. If the water is out, we know what to do. So it's if it really touched my heart when you spoke about that you know how to adapt, because some people they can't really deal with that, I know, like, even my children sometimes tell them, listen, you got to know how to survive. You know what I'm saying? If
Hmm.
something goes down, this is what you got to do. But it's really, it calls really my attention for you to speak about that. Because, for example, people that are Americans, they know how to adapt to their culture. But however, if we take
Hmm.
them to Honduras, they might not even adapt. However, us, we could go to Honduras, come back here, and whatever goes
Hmm.
on, we know how to adapt and we know how to move forward.
That's correct. Speaking on that, like, blessings to my parents because every summer they made sure we went back to Honduras every summer. My parents would ask us, when you finish school, or we finished school like at the last week of June, and the first week of July we was in Honduras coming back in August. So like we coming back pitch black in the sun. Like our
Yes.
parents had us in
And then
Honduras, like playing outside, just enjoying nature, enjoying the humble beginnings of where my parents come from. So we was there pretty much all summer, and we'll come back like the first week of September. Maybe 2 or 3 days before school. And everybody will ask, "Hey, what you did this summer?" "Oh, I went to Honduras." "Well, where's that?" They ain't know. But for me, it was a big deal because like I got to learn how to, even though I didn't pick up Garifuna, but like, I learned how to speak more Spanish because I have to communicate with my cousins and my aunts and my grandparents and everything. So like the culture, I was always around the culture. So that's something that I get to appreciate because I get to see it with my own eyes. So that's, that's what I love about, growing up, you say adapting, the lights will go off. We didn't care. We was outside. The water would go out. Well, we make sure we had the water inside the little pana over there. You know, I'm used to taking showers with, with hot water. No, aquí no hay agua caliente. If we have to take the little bucket, and that's the best
Absolutely.
showers you can ever take.
Absolutely.
And
So,
it's
co-producer, how's
mhm.
your experience has been? So, talk to us a little bit about that, the
I
journey.
to, to be honest, I kind of fell in where I fit in.
Okay.
So pretty much, John comes here every summer. Our families grew up together here in Far Rockaway. So like when he comes to New York, he always makes sure he stop by, come see us. So it just happened to one day he decided to come and he came to the house and we had a conversation. He told me this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, I'm looking at what he's doing. And, he was like, tell me the vision, tell me exactly what he's doing. And next thing you know, I was like, I could help a little bit. At first, I was a little bit to the side, just helping them out with some contacts and stuff like that. Oh, I know this person. You can interview this person, and that's how it started. It went from one to two to three to four until we hit like right now. Our number's unlimited right now compared to I know people
Wow.
that like I could just shoot a text, make a phone call, hit them up on Facebook, and I'm telling you right now, no one said no.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
amazing. That is
Hmm.
amazing. Because at the end of the day, like John spoke earlier, I'm telling your story. And
Mhm.
if you cannot tell your story, who else is going to do it for you? So this is highly
Correct.
important. So, John, I know this is the second one here in New York City. The first one was what, like 3 years ago, which was in Brooklyn. So now we're bringing it to the Boogie Down, right? So what are your expectations? Talk to us a little bit. You and me.
Um, yeah, I got you. So, obviously, I learned a lot from the first one. That was really why. And once again, shout out, Mr. G, because that was his spot at the time. Um, that he opened with a partner, and it was a juice bar, and so it was extended because it also had a lounge area with a stage. And so me and him talk all the time, and I mean, most of the conversation is just me getting the knowledge, because he's very knowledgeable on things. And so I definitely appreciate him giving me that kind of like that space to be a fly on the wall, when he's conducting business. And so, I'm talking to him and I'm like, man, this is how far in I am on a project. And so we're just conversing. He's like, why don't you do an event here? This is my place now, So um, me, I'm not going to turn down a venue, an opportunity to whether I had everything in line or not, and that's one thing I definitely want to get across to my peers, or creators like myself, is that don't wait till you have everything, you know what I mean, because you're never gonna start, you know what I mean. And so that's what this journey, this quest, has definitely taught me, was that you're not gonna have everything you need, but start anyway. There's one quote that I heard, and I always refer back to this. It says, "You can't learn to drive a parked car. You have to be moving." You follow what I'm saying? So that's one thing with him, is when he told me, um, I can use the space. I'm like, we had 3 days to put an event together, create a flyer, get the flyers printed, get them moving, and me and my cousin Abraham, we did it. I do graphic design as well, so I was able to put a flyer together. At that point, we had already interviewed about 30 people, you know, um, and that was 3 years ago. So you could imagine where we are now. But so we did that. And also I have to shout out, like I said earlier, my partner, his name is Patrick Goldsberry. He's from California, from LA, to be specific, Los Angeles. And so he's the one that, when I said earlier, we had went in on camera equipment, and so then he came out here and he saw my culture, and he was like, man, this is different. I never, like, kind of like what Abraham said, his response was, I never seen black people speak Spanish. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's not the norm everywhere else, even though it is in New York. And so yeah, so he was helping me a lot with the film editing and stuff like that. And so that piece, that pilot that we showed, uh I think it was 3 years ago, um, that he helped me put that together. So it was a good turnout. I think about like 20-25 people showed up. It was 3 viewings. Um, and I also want to thank Paula Castillo for showing up and doing a performance as well. For all those who were part of the the whose interview, I showed pieces of their interview. From Sanchez, who he's Garçon Couture, or Fedu, his brand of suits and clothing. Ivan Moreira. Um, I mean, the list goes on. Bodoma, Nino Arzu, uh, rest in peace, Aurelio Martinez. We had so many interviews, clips of interviews we meshed together and showed. And so I say I learned a lot from that, because um I was taking notes the whole time. What can I improve in when I actually get an event and this project is finalized? What do I need um to make it a success? And one thing I noticed is that I needed a team, an administrative team, which obviously, you guys are part of. So thank you. but it was necessary because it was impossible for me to wear all the hats. So just me and Abraham to wear all the hats. We can't be the door greeter and the host and the caterer, and you know what I'm saying, like. So those were just things that I took notes on, and I'm like, you know what, this is what I'm gonna take with me for the once the project is finalized and improve on. Have a list of emails, to get back to the people, um, and all the things in between. So yeah, we Mr. G allowed us the space in Brooklyn, but I had to bring it to the Bronx because for those who live in New York City, they know a predominant a large amount of the Garifuna community is predominantly in the Bronx. So I wanted to bring it closer to home to make it an easier commute for most of the people there. And then plus the venue is amazing. I think the venue's been open about 2 to 3 years so far. It's fairly new, and so you definitely see that when you get there is amazing inside and out. I want to shout out Elena Martinez. She was kind of like the coordinator of the venue, who's definitely making it happen behind the scenes as well. And yeah, it's and also the vendors that I have in line as well. I'm still looking for a couple of vendors as well. I'm reaching out to a couple. I have about 4 slots left. So if you're a vendor of Garifuna the center, you got Garifu, you sell your products. I'm willing to give you the platform to, showcase at my event. So just the slot is $100 for the vendor, and the event is from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. So I'm expecting a great turnout. I will be dropping the trail. There's three 4 trailers, and they will be dropping this weekend leading into next week. And I did it that way because I wanted to break it down in 4 sections, just like how the film is broken down into 4 sections. And I know we'll get into that, but yeah, I'm expecting a great turnout. Um, it's gonna be above and beyond. But like I said, this is only the beginning. This is just one of many. So I just want people to know that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and special shout out to Miriam Swassel too. She helped us out in the first screening in Brooklyn. She came last minute, for an interview, and she did a special performance and a poetry and a dance for us. So special shout out to her, for helping us out last minute, no questions asked, never said no. She said, I have my equipment with me, and she was able to do a special performance for us. So shout out to her, for helping us out that day. Shout out to our family, everybody that showed up that day. It was a nice event. We was able to screen everything like 3 times, and Paula Castillo did her thing, sung a couple songs for us and everything like that. So our goal is to make this presentation a lot better than the first one. So if you're not there, you're gonna miss out. So then, this is for us. This is for the culture. And this is our story, and nobody's gonna tell our story
Así que
than
agumbe,
us.
así que agumbe ho mutu gunyo le lu hajabi disi lida dosu lida disi hati wagumbe hanyado lu hiabi lu mehia lu wonderun lu afedu ha hama amule nu ha nyembe aba afedu ni waiti Hoofddoe, numa que Aurelio Martínez, sí, artista, sí, griega, na dagmentinha, lida, diferente, aspecto lida ibagari, nyodo ali amulele, daga San Vincent, nyodo ti Belize, nyodo ti Guatemala, nyodo ti Honduras, lula dagani, su interview le, luga waba ila nagani won, ti dan bigi bigi tu oito, así que agumbe wa mutu luhiabi lemego hati disi, ok? Lida disi hati dusu lida disi hati agumbe wa mutu lunya mala damba uru la tati evento le. Así que a himbuse hube hagai ha bolet, vishu be mi información luga wara baila hagai no bolet, pero agobo wa mutu te itu hanyo. Agobo wa mutu luhiabi agumbe wa mutu ke luhiabi wala honte ruwa maladuga anya hati ya wambe futuro mosu apoya wa mani grige hanyo be wari gego luga wabela hasigi yo na yanu ho waglu hasigi luga wabela hagebela inyura ho wala duga aha wa minyura wa ma wagaira minyura ho ma wa kultura kaba duga wa asike agoba numutu luhiyabi Así que para todos los neoyorquinos, para el 12 de octubre, los estamos invitando para este evento, especialmente para la comunidad garífunas. Sabemos que hay una gran cantidad de garífunas en el Bronx, en Brooklyn, en Queens, en todos los 5 boroughs de Nueva York. Así que hacemos una invitación específica esta noche para la cultura garífuna, que vengan a apoyar a estos jóvenes. Estos jóvenes están representando lo que es la cultura garífuna. Ellos han estado más de 5 años haciendo todo este trabajo arduo de entrevistas desde Belice hasta San Vincent, haciendo estas entrevistas especialmente para poder presentarlas en una cámara grande. Así que los esperamos para el 12 de octubre. Ya los boletos ya están en vista. Si ustedes necesitan más información, pueden entrar a esta página más tarde donde vamos a tener la información, pero también pueden seguirnos en nuestras redes sociales donde vamos a poner todas estas informaciones. Así que todos están invitados. No se me queden en casa ese día. Vamos a tener artistas especiales y vamos a tener refrigerio, comida, de todo un poco. Si quieres ver la cultura garífuna, sostenerse una cultura que ese día se va a demostrar, vengan a este evento que va a ser el 10 de octubre. Take it away, John. Mute. Oh, mute.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I also want to add and thank those who've already gotten in contact with me as far as the vendors. Ivan Moreira, of course, cousin, he always, you always come through. So thank you for locking in your spot. Ru Arsu, she has her brand. Lisa Flores, I spoke to, Medellin. Thank you. And Luz Solis as well as her daughter Catherine. For those who know, they run Wabafu dance company or dance theater, and she will be in attendance as well, with a vendor's table, but also a extra table with a presentation, because like I said, this is definitely for our community, but we also invite those who are not of the Garifuna community, who are interested in knowing more of the community, right? Knowing more of the Garifuna people. And so there will be a table there as well. Aside from the film, there will be a table there as well with Garifuna artifacts, is like your drums and your la primera, la segunda, the Hana, a brief summary of the Garifuna people. So it's gonna be an all-day event. I want people to understand that this is not just a film screening. It's an all-day event. You have we're gonna feed you, we're gonna teach you, we're gonna entertain you. You follow what I'm saying? So you definitely don't want to miss it, is what I'm saying. You definitely don't want to miss it. I do plan on, for those who live in California, in the LA area, I do plan on doing something similar later on here in LA, and then also in Texas. But for right now, my focus is on October 12th in New York City, in at the Bronx Music Hall. And yeah, it's gonna be an all-day event, man. And I just pray that you find the time to make it, especially those who took the time, we do appreciate, who took the time to sit down with us and share your story. We have musicians that we sat down with, but we also have those who you will call historians, those who teach the culture. Shout out to, Senor Ruben Reyes. We sat down with him. Milton Witi, Luz Solis, I mentioned, Wellington Ramos, Pablo Blanco, and the list goes on. Obviously we have your musicians, your Nino Arzu, Raulito Chavez,
Yeah, Figaga, Baba,
Figaga, the
you know.
Go, Baba
Yeah.
from Gobana, Sandra, and rest in peace, Aurelio. We sat down with him, so it's gonna connect the dots for a lot of people, especially, like I said, for those who grew up in the time that I grew up, who just wanted to know more about the culture outside of just the music and the food. This our culture is so rich, and you're gonna see it here, that not only is it so rich in ways like just whether we're talking medicine, when we're talking history, whether we're talking the impact we have had on other cultures in cities and states that we're not originally from. But also how similar we are, even though we're not in the same vicinity. Like when, for example, when I went to St. Vincent, the kids there move like the children in Honduras and in Guatemala. Like they look the same, they sound the same, they move the same. They, like I said, it's like a home away from home. So you'll see so many similarities within this film with people who've interacted with each other, but also people who've never seen each other, who've never met each other up to that point. And it's definitely an eye opener. I'll give you one story. We were in Greg's, a town called Greg's in Greg's in St. Vincent, because there's Garifuna towns out there and there's Garifuna people there. And we came out just like how we would do in Crotona Park, just like how we would do in St. Mary. We came with the drums, we came with the caracol, we came with the maracas, right? And we played, just like how we would do. And people started to gather, right? And so I would say about 10 minutes in, a whole nother dance group, shout out to Jay, if I get his name right, and the Kalunga dance collective. So they're a dance group out there who's in the field of preserving the Garifuna culture out there. So they came. We didn't know who they were. They came, they joined us. And then they surrounded us, right? And held hands. I mean, I don't want to give it away, but you're gonna see it in the film. They surrounded us, held hands, and they
Absolutely. Don't give it away. Hold
yeah,
on to
yeah,
it.
you're gonna see. It's an amazing thing. It was just, and it wasn't planned. This is the thing. Like a lot of what you're gonna see documented, and that's what I love about documentaries is that the people tell the story,
Right.
right? And so a lot of the times it's not like your regular motion picture film where it's scripted. This thing, it grows is as it goes, and so a lot of what you see is what I've seen for the first time. I just had the opportunity to document it. You follow? So it's gonna be a lot of surprises, man. It's gonna be a beautiful thing, beautiful thing. So just come out. You can go on the Bronx Music Hall website and go on the Quest for Jurumein event on October 12th. Get your ticket online. It's $25. And at the door is gonna be $30, right? And so that, like I said, that includes your food, your drink, the screening, and also the entertainment after. And then we're gonna have a Q&A for those who may have questions, for those who want to maybe want to collab on something. Is the floor is going to be open, so that 25 covers all of that. That's more than enough. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody would be there. Bring your kids. Like I said, this is something that we want to that's going to outlive us, that we want to pass on to our children and our grandchildren. And this is the way we do it. You follow? Because this is the way they communicate. You follow what I'm saying? So we have to understand that.
Absolutely. So lastly, I want to ask this question. Um, I know this is a documentary. So what is the future looks like, in terms of filming? Do you have something bigger in plan?
Of course I do. Of course I do. My mind is always moving, So um I joke with my cousin about this, my cousin Abraham. I joke with him about this because though I'm excited about doing this, though I'm excited about October 12th, it's also a sigh of relief because this this event is allowing me to finally put this project to the side so I can start moving on to the other things that I've been working on. You follow what I'm saying? I truly believe in, execute one thing, finish it, and then move on to the next. Right. So by me establishing this event for October 12th, it actually at the same time it allows me to put it down and then move on to the next project. So there's a lot more coming down the pipeline. Not just Garifuna projects, projects in general. I can't speak on them too just yet, but just speaking on I speak on the Garifuna ones. There's a project we're working on that it it connects the you want to should we share it, Abraham?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, yeah, because we kind of halfway through it already. So this project is gonna connect is gonna connect. The best way I could put it is gonna connect the father and son dynamic, right? And so if you notice in our community, there's a lot of father and son dynamics, even within, for example, music. You have Bodoma, who we sat down with, but then we also sat down with his children, right, who are musicians. You know, um,
Right.
we sat down with and there's so many of those, so we kind of shine a light on that, and through that father son dynamic, what else is being passed through, passed down there, right? How is that shaping, how is a father through his culture, through his talent, shaping his son into carrying the baton to the next generation, right? So is a project just only based on that, and then also another project that does the same thing for the women and the daughters, right? So you have, for example, your Luz
Wow. Wow.
Solis, and then your Catherine, her daughter. You follow what I'm saying? As she continues to take the Wabafu dance company brand and take it to the next level, right? So it's things like that that we're working on. That at me as a creative, I've always been a fan of the arts. I've always been a fan of film. And so this is my way of giving back to the culture, but also um, using my talents to do so, doing something that I'm passionate about. Simple.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And that's the reason, I do have this platform. I didn't do it just for me, which, I love interviews, I love all this stuff, but one of my cores is to continue doing this, as a community because like you mentioned earlier, we're creating our history and then I want to be, like maybe 20 years from now, or maybe no, let's say 40 years from now, I'll be like hundreds and stuff like that. I want my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, to come up. You know what? Let's go see Nana's, YouTube, what she had in there. So, we just got to continue creating because we all creators, in different aspects in our life, right? And and this is a great thing that today's day we have the doors open. We don't longer have to rely on the TV to see, who is who, community and stuff like that. But it's highly important to me to continue, showcasing positivism in our community, bringing history because God forbid, like maybe 5 years from now, there may be some Garifuna kid that's going to jail university that may want to work on a paper. We have documents here. Hey, he could just go, you know what? Let me go take a look at our platform. There's something in there that I want to pick on. Let me go grab a book. Let me go look up on Solis. She has a book. So I think, we have to continue embracing and we have to continue pushing for the greatness for our community because Garifuna, we are strong,
Yeah.
we are strong. And then when we put our head to do something, we succeed. But I just want to say this to you guys. Do not don't ever give up because you are the futures, And like I was mentioning it to you earlier, I'm delighted, I'm really appreciative that y'all doing this, and especially as a male. Some of the males out there, they more worrying about, they bills, they make, raising these children, but you taking your extra time to develop and showcase our culture. So I just want to say, continue on doing what you do, and thank you for being, part of Orlando Combelili. And I thank you too that I'm going to be part of this great event next month. So looking forward, for a good turnout. And hopefully we'll be going to LA one day.
Yeah.
No, no, we're going.
Yeah, for sure. No,
We're
LA,
going.
LA and Texas. Look out for Texas as well. So shout out to the family there. I'm excited and look forward to seeing everyone there. Just be ready. Just be ready, like I said, to be entertained, to be taught something new. Um, and just to congregate and to network as well, because there's gonna be a lot of different people in the house, from your elders to your musicians to your historians to your entrepreneurs. It's gonna be a night just full of great things and good vibes. So just come out with the right mindset, with an open mindset, and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself.
Absolutely. Abraham?
Yeah, well, we here to support the culture. This I believe this is our calling. So like this is our calling, and we here to do what we to serve a purpose of what we need to do in this earth, and we're here to show the people, what they don't know about the culture, and all we can do is learn from here and continue showing our people, with the proper technology, just moving on with the times, and showing everybody what we all about.
Absolutely. So we calling you guys, Quest IV Jurumein. We are expecting for you guys to come out, get your tickets. I don't want nobody to come up and say, well, I didn't get a ticket. Get your tickets for $25. You're going to be fed, you're going to drink, you're going to dance, you're going to jump, and you're going to meet great people. So I don't want nobody calling later on. No, we want you there, elderly, young, mid-age. Come as is. Come that day and make sure you wear something that is colorful, that is going to represent you. Just come out and have some fun. This is something that you never seen, that you never experiencing. So I invite you, all of you guys, if you commute into the state of New York that day, make your business, come and check us out. John, in closing.
Yeah, and so just to add to that, remember it's from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. So there's no excuse. If there's an event going on, it's usually after. You know what I'm saying? It's usually like a night event, so you still make it. You know what I mean? So come, it's at the Bronx Music Hall. Uh let me share the address. For those who, may not know where the Bronx Music Hall is, it's at 438 East 163rd Street in the Bronx, New York, zip code 10451. That's 438 East 163rd Street, Bronx, New York, zip code 10451. Bronx Music Hall. The doors open at 3 and it's from 3 to 8 p.m. And it's gonna be a great night. And I just appreciate all those who are working behind the scenes with me. Um, Belly Lee, thank you. My mom, Nina Martinez, Kayla Arthur, Mr. G, of course, my cousin Abraham, um, DeLong. I love, nothing but love for all y'all. You dig what I'm saying? Because, like I said, it's not always who you see in the forefront, is also the team that helps bring everything together. So I thank you all, and look forward to seeing everyone October 12th.
All right, thank you guys for your visit, and don't be strangers. The door is open anytime. So we're here to support you guys. So I'll see you on the 12th of October.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us.
See you all.